Some tense moments on board the International Space Station today. NASA ordering its astronauts to shelter in place and prepare for an emergency evacuation after Russia tried to fix 2 leaks on its side of the station.
One of them is now sealed. There are plans in place to repair the second leak, and all of the crew members are back on board. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello joins us now. So, Tom, Russia is saying there's no threat to the crew or the International Space Station right now, but this leak has been an ongoing problem. So what's happening? What's next?
Yeah, we've been talking about this over the years, right? The Russian module has had a series of leaks, and it just grew more acute over the last couple of days, and Russia decided it needed to try to effect repairs. It discovered 2 leaks. As you mentioned, it sealed one of them, and then it needed to gain access to another leak, and to do that, it was going to have to cut or saw into a piece of their side of the station, to a support structure. That's got NASA a little concerned. NASA put all of the U.S. astronauts into the Dragon spaceship, a SpaceX ship, so that they could immediately evacuate if necessary. They were in that ship, and then Russia decided, hang on, we're not going to proceed. We're just going to study this and measure the leak more precisely. Here's the recording of NASA Mission Control talking to the crew that had then gone into that spacecraft on standby.
We do have a big picture update for you, which is that our Russian colleagues have elected to perform measurements only today. So with that, we are comfortable backing out of the safe haven config.
Yeah, in other words, that spaceship was a safe haven, a life raft, if you will, but Mission Control told the astronauts they can go back into the station. So now we're waiting to find out when Russia will attempt again to fix that leak that they have on their side of the station.
So, Tom, then what's the next step here, right? When Russia decides it's going to use a saw and cut into the structure, does it take it back into an emergency status? Do they have to then carry out a shelter in place for the U.S. astronauts? What does that process look like?
That's completely up to NASA, and NASA is deferring to Russia right now because it's Russia's side of the station. Now, they communicate and coordinate all the time, second by second. The 2 mission controls are talking to each other. And so we are waiting to find out from Russia what is their game plan after they do their updated measurements. And then is NASA going to feel comfortable with the astronauts staying on board the station, or might they again put the astronauts into that spacecraft as a potential safe haven life raft? We simply don't know right now. I would underscore, though, that the Russians and the American space programs, astonishingly, given the fact that we are, in this kind of a Cold War involving Ukraine, they talk constantly, communicate and coordinate constantly. And the Ukraine situation, the war, that's not even on their agenda.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.